Aloha, my name is Diane Booth. I live in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I'm from Gowanda, New York, but my beef is with Santa Clara County, California. I'm reporting judicial corruption in the Juvenile Dependency Court, specifically San Jose and Sunnyvale, California. When my son was 6 years old, he was kidnapped because I refused to put him on Ritalin. They put him in Eastfield Minkwang, a locked facility for children, and they put him on about 5 or 6 different psych meds that he didn't need. And they misdiagnosed him with ADHD, which he didn't have. He was abused in this facility, so I rescued him and I took him to Canada, where I filed for political asylum. And I was a refugee claimant in Canada for 10 years. However, the FBI came up to Canada and kidnapped my son again and returned him to the same abusive facility. My son and I were happy in Canada for about 2 months, and then the FBI came up and kidnapped my son again and took him to the same abusive facility in California. However, I stayed in Canada as a refugee claimant because they threatened to prosecute me and charge me with 2 felonies consecutive, 10 years each, kidnapping and fleeing the United States to avoid prosecution. However, the UN Declaration of Human Rights says that every citizen has a right to claim political asylum in another country and return to their country. So they kidnapped my son 2 months later, but I stayed on because the Canadians knew that I wasn't abusive to my son. They knew my son and I had a special bond, so they let me stay until I cleared things up with the courts. However, I filed 5 different appeals from Canada, and each time it came up for appeal, the panel of judges denied it without even looking at the evidence, because they didn't want people to know the evidence. They didn't want to expose what they were doing. So my son is almost 20 years old now, and I still haven't seen him since the year 2000. He was originally kidnapped in Santa Clara County, California, in July 29th, 1999. We went to Canada in the year 2000, and I have not seen him since the FBI took him back to California. I'm in Hawaii now, and I would like to connect with my son. I would like congressmen and senators to please look into this corruption. It's been going on for decades. I'm sure I'm not the only person. There were other refugee claimants in Canada for the same reason that I met when I was up there. And I'm just asking for justice and mercy and to connect me and my son. And these people need to be prosecuted, I believe, for crimes against humanity because they ruined both of our lives.